Everything Coast to Coast with your host, singular, Buddy Sotelo Esquire. And when I say from coast to coast, we're not really all the way to the other coast, but we're a little bit of a distance from San Francisco. My guest today is a very talented guy that we've had on the show a couple times. I'm not even sure what your official title is these days, but let's welcome Ryan Boman to the show. So thank you for joining us. So can you, last time, it's like a Batman episode. Last time we saw Ryan, he was a writer for Sportskeeda, and he had just left the Gorilla Position. So did you want to tell? And then you've got a new venture that's coming up, which we'll talk about later, that I'm very excited to hear the details about. But maybe let's rewind all the way back to the beginning, which is you were first writing for the Gorilla Position. And can you remind the viewers how you got started with the Gorilla Position?
I founded the Gorilla Position. I was the owner and operator of the Gorilla Position. My best friend and my business partner, we went into that together, and it was magical. Like, honestly, we just hit it. Like, and I don't yeah, I'm sure you have like a ton of questions, and so I'm sorry
to just remind the fans what the Gorilla Position was and why it was a very influential part of the wrestling scene.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're that influential or not, honestly. Like, it's like I don't know. Michael and I, just when we started it blew up and it happened, and it wasn't it wasn't on purpose. We didn't do it like that way. It wasn't like.
Well, what was your purpose in creating the Gorilla Position? Now, the Gorilla Position was a website that provided a lot of wrestling news and insight to wrestling fans, both on the indie circuit and on the pro circuit. But what motivated you to start the Gorilla Position?
We just want to do something positive in the wrestling business. And I mean, to this day, my best friend still does that every day. I mean, I just heard from him last night. He's a producer with Ohio Valley Wrestling now, and he's still doing positive things in the wrestling. But that's all we can do in the wrestling business. Be positive. Be people that are not negative. And
yet there's so much of it in the wrestling, especially wrestling press. Why do you think that is?
Because everybody wishes they were the guy in the ring. That's the truth. I mean, everyone wishes they were the guy that was the star, and that's their problem. They don't understand that how hard that is, because I have watched guys literally like beat themselves up, like bleed in front of me, and that is not an easy job to do. So the way fans disrespect wrestlers kills me, because none of them could do it. None of them could do it.
Well, it's any kind of performance. I mean, it's it's whether you think you can cook better than the chef that's running the restaurant, or whether you think you can play guitar better than the guy that's on stage, or you think you could act better than the person that was in the movies. People are always looking at people who are performing and saying, oh, well, I could do that.
Oh, exactly. Everybody wants to be center stage until you get there. And I've told people many times, and I just had a conversation with a friend of mine last night about this. You have no idea how scary that is. Like, it's the greatest feeling in the world to be in that ring in front of people. But it's also really, really, it will tell you who you are as a person, that moment. And I think we talked about this last night, and it's so funny that people always they criticize Roman Reigns all the time. Well, but now who's the man in the business? Roman Reigns. He's the number one guy. And do you know why? Because he beat everybody. He's not defeated. And that's what you have to be. You have to be fearless when you go out there. And that's what I tell my kids all the time. Just be fearless. Be fearless.
How old are your kids?
Oh gosh, I got 4 girls and they're 26 down to 14. So
Okay,
yeah.
I have twins who are 11, so at least your youngest and mine are kind of in the same age range.
Yeah, no, my youngest is 14, but no, I try to tell them all the time, like, you can't go out there and be afraid. You cannot. I mean, because the people smell fear. They smell fear. And if you go out there and you're afraid, they will sense it.
And maybe even more than fear, they really sense doubt. And when somebody is not sure of themselves. And I know fear and doubt are related topics, but you can turn fear into something depending on who you are, if you're a heel or a face. You can turn fear, even legit fear, into something, but you can never turn doubt into anything positive. That is one thing that
No, I agree.
when you ruin that fourth wall, that you don't believe in yourself, and then as an actor, as a musician, as a chef, as a dancer, as a beat poet, as a stand-up comedian, you name it, whatever you're trying to do to perform for other people, if you don't believe in yourself, the audience will feed off of that and eat you up alive, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's all about believing in yourself. That's it. I mean, eh, one of the people that just kills me like all the time, like in the business, is like I love Gail Kim, like because she has no fear when she goes out through that curtain. She has no fear, and I don't talk to Gail very often, but damn it, when she goes out there, she has no fear because she knows she can kick that ass. And the
And cut a
greatest example.
promo with sincerity, and cut a promo like they really believe it. I was actually watching Women of Wrestling last night. I was catching up on it because I just hadn't seen any from this, since they just started back up. And say what you want about her not working out in a number of different feds, but Tessa Blanchard knows how to cut a promo. She really
Oh,
does.
Tessa's not. I mean, she's another person that's fearless, also. But I got hell for even defending her, and I don't even know what that situation was. I don't think Tessa's a. I shouldn't say
I
this.
think she's in the right place at Women of Wrestling. I think that's the right kind of fed for her to be in, rather than her trying to be the carrying women's feds in either TNA or Impact, I mean, or AEW. I never felt those were great fits. Or when she had her little stint in the NWA, those were just not really great fits for her, and I think she's fitting in better with Women of Wrestling. I don't know if you watched any of the WW.
No, I don't think she works there anymore, but I'm not sure. I've talked to her like a couple times since everything happened, and you know, Tessa just the deal there. I mean, the racist thing is like that's a bad thing to say about anyone. Like I don't think that she's a racist in any way, but you know, that's what was said, and so that's how it went down. I don't really believe Tessa's like that, but whatever. It just you know what happens to people sometimes is they just get canceled. Like they literally get canceled for saying one thing. You cannot say one thing bad about anyone without being canceled, and that's just how it is. And I think that's what happened to Tessa. And the sad part is
Unless
that
that's your shtick. Unless that's your shtick, is to say bad stuff. But then you have to say bad stuff about everyone all the time. You can't just make exceptions. Well, like Jim Cornette, he says a lot of bad things, but he's consistent about the people that he hates.
no, I mean I agree with that. I mean, but the thing is, I don't think that she personally did anything to anyone. I just I've talked to Tessa tons of times, and I just don't really believe that's in her heart. I don't think that she's a racist person, but I mean that's a probably an unpopular opinion. But then again, I'm the same guy who got hate mail for defending Kevin Sullivan. But it is what
Now,
it is.
Now, have you ever actually done any ring performances? I forgot if you were involved in any indie feds or did any promoting or any actual like maybe managing or even in ring stuff.
Oh yeah, I tried to be a wrestler and then I got hurt pretty bad, and that's when I just quit. I was like, I figured like I'm not this good at it. So it was like one of those things where like the first time my leg exploded, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not that good at this. So I just decided I would be a referee, or I would just be I never really wanted to be a star. And that was not it. I wanted to be the
Did
behind
you
the
ever
scenes
ref?
guy. Yes.
People underrate refs for how difficult refereeing is, and I trained to do reffing as well, just in case they needed to do a special angle where me as a manager got to be a ref, and it was pretty tough stuff. Being in the right place at the right time and knowing where your timing was.
That's a tough job. Being a referee is a tough job.
My good friend is a referee over at NXT and the WWE. Tom Caster.
Mm-hmm.
He and I trained together at the same time. We started training in APW at the same time, and he's phenomenal. But he's had, I think, a dislocated elbow and shoulder issues and knee stuff from bumps he's had to take and shots.
You get hurt bad as a referees. That's again one of the most underrated jobs ever. Like to be a referee, like you have to take bumps. They take bumps just like the wrestlers do, and nobody seems to respect that.
It reminds me of a story when I was refereeing. There was a guy named Big Max Justice. So we were training as a light in a light match. He was facing Hook Bomberry, and Max Justice went for the pin, and I swung around and went down low, and then he got kicked off, and he did like a spin thing with his leg, as he was getting kicked off, mm-hmm. and his leg, which is about as big as my entire body, just landed square on my head, and I saw stars. And I like wobbled out of the ring, and they were like, "Hey, that's a great looking bump." I'm like, "That wasn't a bump that I knew was coming." It just knocked me.
No, the worst bumps are the ones that you don't know what's coming. Because I will tell you this, and Matt, I'm just gonna say this, man. Like the reason I have a scar on my head is a friend of mine swung a chair shot, like literally in the ring. Like I was the ring announcer. And I thought I didn't see it coming, and he just whacked me. Like, you know how it is where you just get whacked like that. And I was like, I woke up like, the knockout thing.
Yeah.
And there was blood like running down my face. And I was like, why did you do that?
And everyone's like, way to sell it. You're like, yeah, I sold it all right.
Yeah, I didn't actually sell it. I just didn't know it was coming. But hey, you gotta take your whacks. In the business, you gotta take your whacks. That's just how it is. It's not, it's not anybody. And like I said, my buddy didn't hit me on purpose like that. He threw a chair shot, hit me in the face, and I was like, oh, that. Yeah, that.
Now, which federation was this?
This would be in Louisville.
Oh, Louisville. Okay. So, where did you get your start? I thought you were always in St. Louis.
St. Louis originally. Yes. St. Louis starting out, and then Louisville later, and Nashville, everywhere.
Because all those places are only a couple hours drive from St. Louis, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I've never been to St. Louis, even though I've driven across the United States twice. I just always somehow swing north or south of St. Louis. I never get a chance to stop in. I've never been to Missouri before, but
there's some folks from St. Louis that the Simmons family they used to run shows at a place called South Broadway. Back in the day, like growing up, that was the place that's where Randy Orton got his start, and Herb Simmons and Jessica Simmons, his daughter. Much love to them because they're awesome. But but yeah, I mean they were like those kind of folks. You know what I mean when you have people like that help you get started. That's the people that you never forget. You never forget them. Like Herb to me is like he's family.
Well,
So
that's great that you bring him up, because I was about to bring him up. We had him on the show like about a month ago, and it was really interesting. I've been from San Francisco. I've always been from San Francisco. I've lived in different parts of California. I've always been in California. I've always been interested in the differences between California, Canada as a territory for wrestling. St. Louis is the other great hot spot. Obviously Texas and Atlanta are other great hot spots. Minnesota, Minnesota is the other great spot. And then, of course, New York with Evan Ginsberg is the other, huge hot spot for wrestling. But St. Louis is one of the standout spots in wrestling.
Salute to Evan Ginsberg real quick.
All right. I hope he's watching. He's been working on a bunch of other stuff, so we've been.
I know he's been busy, but no, I mean it's one of those things that I think that in anything, in what I love about wrestling is that when it's almost like a family. Like it's the smallest family you'll ever know. Like
and the strangest.
Well, I no, I mean we're not that strange. It just makes sense.
I would call my APW brothers and sisters pretty darn strange. Same with my CCW, but I love them. But they were all very strange people, which is okay because I fit in there because I'm strange too.
No, I don't think it's that we're all so strange. I think it's just like we get each other. It's just that thing that like there's that family thing. Like no, what I always say about
to be strange to like wrestling. You can't be just a normal person because it's so weird. The whole concept is weird that it's like a traveling circus combined with people from high school that never grew up, combined with the military, combined with like a sports organization. It's all these things thrown in like a traveling band. And you go through such incredible highs when you do a great show. And when you do a bomb scare, you go through such incredible lows. It's what bonds people together, I think, in these wrestling feds. Don't you think?
Playing in a traveling band. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's one of those things, and I've said this before. There's no feeling like being there. Like I said, there's no high like being in front of those people, and there's no feeling like being back in the back, like next to your guys. Like you're like, did that just happen? Like, did that just really happen? And it's just I don't know. I mean, it's an amazing feeling. I don't I can't explain it.
What's the best indie show that you were ever a part of? Do you remember it?
Yeah, Stride. When I got to be Ricky Steamboat's ring announcer, that was the coolest thing. Because the coolest part of it was
where was that and how long ago was that?
That was oh my gosh, that was 7 years ago, I think. And but it was the weirdest thing, man. It was like we're in the back, and like Ricky's like sitting next to me, and he's telling me, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and I was like, okay. And so then I go out in front of the people, and you have to understand, this is like the craziest moment of my life, like my greatest wrestling moment ever. I can't believe I'm saying this right now. Was watching him walk down the aisle and look at me, and hearing me call out his name, and it was like that's my hero. That's my guy, and he's here right now. Like, do you understand? I mean, that feeling is like so weird. It's like crazy.
And was he good to work with? Everyone says he's great to work with.
Oh, he's the nicest dude ever. Like, we're in the back. Like, he could not be nicer. And my wife was there, and he was so nice to her. Ricky's just a good dude. Like, I mean, they always say that story. I always say this all the time about, when people say, "Get out of here."
But see,
When
you got a cat or dog?
That's a cat. Get out. Get out.
Pets are always welcome on the show.
Oh,
Go ahead
good.
and pick up your cat or
No, hey.
what's your cat's
No,
name? Now we want to get the cat on the.
Let's buddy. Come on, come here.
Cat's name Buddy.
Mm-hmm. No,
My bird was, and that's where I got the name Buddy Sotelo from. Was first name Buddy was from my bird, Buddy the bird. So I named myself after my bird.
No, but you know that expression that people always say, never meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you. When I met my hero, he did not disappoint me.
I've met a few heroes and they've been great. I mean, both in sports and in wrestling. I met Sergeant Slaughter, who was fantastic. Met Harley Race, who was really nice to talk to. Dr. Death Steve Williams was fantastic. Roddy Piper was a great person to talk to when I had a chance. And I met a lot of sports folks that I was big fans of, including recently Matt Cain and Vita Blue. So those guys were equally. You can find people that might be as nice as Vita Blue, but you'd never find someone who's nicer. I'll tell you that much. He was one of the nicest people I've ever met. He wouldn't stop talking. We had to tell him we're done with the interview so we could get someone else on. He would have taken the whole day with us if we had let him. He just was so he turned an interview into talking to a friend. And that's the best interview that you can possibly get, right?
Right. I mean,
there's interviews where you have to extract the information out of the other side, and then there's the other side. There's the other type of interview where he's got so many stories. You just have to say that's all the time we have for you because we want to have you on again sometime because you're so great at filling in dead air. So it's nice to have guys like that. So I've been lucky too, though. For the most part, the people that I've met in wrestling, I've been really very lucky to get along with and enjoy having them on the card, and a lot of them are really good. Not every one of them. I could tell you stories about Buff Bagwell and Rikishi, but we'll move on and keep working with yourself. So from being involved in indie wrestling, how did you then come up with the idea? I want to make a website and I want to talk about wrestling. How did that? Well, explain the process in putting that all together, if you could.
Well, I mean, it was 3:00 in the morning, and I was sitting by myself, and
which is the source of either all good ideas or bad ideas. 3 a.m. is when you either come up with your best ideas or one.
No, it was my best idea, man. I mean, it's still a good idea. I was sitting there, and it was 3 a.m, and I just told my wife, I said, I got to do something. And so then I just, literally that night created everything, the website. I made up the name, and I honestly, this is something that I'm very proud of. I actually asked Valerie Morella. I asked Gorilla's daughter if I could have permission to call it the Gorilla Position, and she gave me the blessing for that. And so that was just kind of like, okay, now I get it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm still friends with Valerie. I mean, we still talk once in a while, but just the fact that, she said to me, I'm very proud of this, what you're doing. Anything you can put your head down and say, I'm proud of this. That's all. That's all we live for, right? I mean, and to me, that's what wrestling is. That's who we are. Put your head down, work hard, and be proud of what you do. That's it.
That's great. And so then tell me how how Sportskeeda got involved, and then your involvement with Sportskeeda, and what became of that.
Well, they made me an offer and I took it, and that was 2.5 years ago. And then, like I can't talk about the money stuff, right? Like I can't, I can't.
Yeah, no, you talked about whatever you are at liberty to talk about from that experience.
Okay. Well, no, it's just they came to me and they made an offer, and they, I mean, it was whatever. It was, like.
I thought your Sportskeeda articles were pretty bold and daring. You didn't mind. Look, I think it takes a lot of guts to stick up for the Miz, because I can't stand him. So the fact that you were able to at least justify your feelings on saying the Miz isn't so bad. I didn't agree with it, but I thought you made your points well on that.
What I'm saying is, how long has he been in the WWE? How long has he been there?
To me, an eternity. I feel about him the same way I feel about Greg Gagne, but that's maybe for another show. I don't like his work. I don't like what he does in the ring. I don't like what he does outside the ring, and I think he's given way too long to give his promos, which to me are show killing. But that's my opinion.
But everyone doubted that kid. Everybody doubted that kid to the point that they beat him up, like literally beat him up in the locker room, threw his bags, threw his shit out in the fucking locker room. Excuse me, sorry. And he's still there, and they're all gone. So what does that tell you about him? Perseverance matters.
That's true. I mean, I will say that, and he definitely has the favor of the McMahon family, because they don't, I think there are other wrestlers who, in my opinion, have shown a lot of great promise and having been given an equal shot as the Miz has, or as many chances to make their claim as like the Miz has, or they've been mishandled, AJ Styles comes to mind, as someone that I think if he got as big a push in the right way as the Miz had, he would be a legit, true legit contender for the kind of guy they have with Roman Reigns. And, when you look at Roman Reigns, a lot of, I think, the negative feeling about Roman Reigns is not about who he is, but how Vince tried to shove him down everybody's throat for a while. And say, you will like this guy because I want you to like this guy. And there's really no other way to make sure a guy is hated than for Vince to say, you must like this guy.
No, I mean, but at the same time, once again, it's not business, it's personal. That thing, that whole thing, when AJ doesn't have to be pushed anymore. He got his money. He made his money. When he signed there, they gave him everything. And I shouldn't say this about Allen, but no, when he went in and he got a good deal to go into WWE. Cody got a good deal to go into WWE. So it's not about it's not show friends, it's show business. And when Allen signed his deal, I love the story. I like this when they said it was so nice of Vince to give Cody his gimmick and his name. No, Cody owns his name. That's the difference. Allen owns his name. That those gloves, he owns those too. Okay, so no, they didn't give him anything. He negotiated it, and that's the deal that people don't understand. It's like I said, Cody, that tattoo on his neck, he owns it. So like his logo, his everything, he owns it. And that's just why people don't understand. It's like you can't tell a fan that, like, you cannot go into business for yourself. Motherfucker, now I'm cussing again. What I'm saying is, if you own something, own it. Own your name. Own who you are. Do not go in there fearless. And they understand that. When Cody came out of that thing at WrestleMania, do you think he didn't negotiate that? Honestly, when he rose
Oh
off
yeah,
that
no,
stage,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's a multi-million-dollar deal. You're not going to just walk into something like that, without your lawyers present. And wish you'd hired me to help him, but it's you definitely, as you said, it's not show friends, it is show business, and with the WWE, everything there now is big business.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to drop the F bomb like multiple
My
times.
kids have their headphones on. They'll be all right.
Oh no, I didn't know if we could cuss on this show or not.
Yeah,
So I just,
we're not. I mean, we're not a. What little kids are going to tune in to watch me pontificate about old school pro wrestling? I think we're an 18 and over show, so
okay. I want to make sure. I wasn't
it's all
sure.
right. We believe me. Kind of buddy that we have on Trump comes up. So we we don't have to worry about giving a G-rated show to us. As long as nothing is profane and you're not swearing for the fun of it, or you're not using any kind of racial epithets, then we're all good. So, and I know
No,
you're good like that.
I don't want to use any racial epithets.
No,
I was saying no.
that's
I mean,
European. Yeah.
what I'm saying is, like, it's business. It's business, and you can be personal with someone, you can be nice to someone, and all that. But when it comes down to money, it's money, and I honestly believe that that's why Cody left AEW. It was money. I want power and money, and they wouldn't give it to him, so he
Well,
left.
he had a lot of power in AEW. He couldn't match the money that AEW couldn't match the money that the WWE offered to him. But when he switched back over to AEW, from the WWE the first time, AEW did put him initially in a really good spot, but they also had that influx of all those WWE people coming in from left and right and diagonally, and next guys and all that stuff. So they couldn't exactly work him in the way I think that he had expected to. And now what's interesting is I hear there's a lot of rumors that all those guys who jumped ship to AEW, now that Triple H is in charge of the WWE, they want to come back to the WWE. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I've only dealt with Paul like a couple times or whatever, but I think he's very smart. I think he's a very intelligent guy. I think that I think what he's doing right now is, it's he's making the right moves. If you watch the show right now, when you watch it, it's more exciting than it was 6 months ago. And I think Triple H is like, he's got a good mind for the business. He really does, and he's one of those guys that just kind of gets it. And I'm gonna tell this story. And remember what he said in 1996 when he walked in the building?
I've taken a few chair shots since 1996, so I don't remember everything.
Okay, he walked into the building, and I know this because Candido told me this story. He walked into the building and he said, "Someday I'm gonna run this place." Guess who runs it now?
It's been an interesting ride before he got there, but yeah, he proved it. Well, I don't know if he anticipated he'd be marrying Stephanie McMahon when he walked in the door. That helps to be in charge. But yeah, he's had some good ideas, and maybe more importantly, he was able to ingratiate himself enough to Vince McMahon for Vince to trust him to give power over to Triple H. Plus, Triple H was helped out by Vince, forming his own noose and getting himself, caught in this, current and all those different scandals last year.
No, I agree with what you're saying, and also, but at the same time, I will go back to my original point. Someday I'm going to run this place. Once again, period, full stop. Now he runs the place. And I don't care whose daughter he had to screw or anything to get there. Now he's there. And now he's doing what he's doing. And it's good. It's good. And what they're doing with Roman and Sammy and the show right now is so good that, who cares? Who cares how he got there? I don't watch these shows, honestly. This is what kills me about wrestling fans. I don't watch them to be pissed off. I don't watch Raw or SmackDown or Dynamite to bitch. I don't. I watch them to be entertained. And if I don't like them, I turn them off. I mean, is that hard to figure out? I mean, see, I've gotten hate mail before for praising people in the wrestling business. And I'm not joking, dude. I have literally written a story about somebody and gotten hate mail the next morning. Woke up the next morning, checked my email, and got hate mail? What are you, stupid? Why would you watch the show if you don't like it?
Do you remember who it was? Do you remember who you had written about that generated the hate mail?
Everybody.
No, I mean who you wrote about praising someone that then people were mad at.
Roman was one of them, and there's been several. Al Snow, he's another person that I admire because I actually know him.
A super nice guy. I've happened to have a chance to meet him now it's almost 15 years ago, but I did have a chance to meet him in San Francisco and at the ill-fated convention we had, and he was so open and willing to talk about his experiences and everything. I'm amazed that people have a beef with Al Snow.
No, but here's my thing, and I guess maybe you'll understand this since you've been in the business, but it's just this thing that, like, I don't understand this fans' hatred of people. Like, seriously, if you knew that person personally, you wouldn't hate them. And that's the part that gets me. Like, you don't get it. You're just a fucking fan. You're just a fucking mark. And so unless you know that person, don't talk to them like that. Don't say that about them. And I mean, and I'm saying that about people I know in the business. Don't. You have no idea what it's like to just be someone who like literally gets hammered every day. Like, seriously, you don't know this person. You don't know them. But everybody pretends like they do.
Ryan, I'll say this. One of the people that I did know was Crash Holly. Okay? And I know what it's like to see the results of someone being bashed, of someone being at the height of where they were in the WWE and come crashing down, and what that effect is on them. And it is devastating. Some people can handle that, and they can handle the loss of fame and being center stage. But some people, it's such a huge high to be, on TV every week and be able to go to a grocery store and everyone goes, hey, that's Crash Holly, or, I know who you are. It's a big ego inflation. And suddenly people are seeing you at indies, with instead of 10,000 people, you got 100 people, and instead of earning, $5,000 a night, you get $20 and a handshake and told, really, you're lucky to get the 20, because the owners, the promotion's losing so much money. We're lucky you got paid at all,
A hot dog and a handshake.
Yeah, hot dog and a handshake. But I mean, for people who want to be in the business, that's a big deal. But when you've already been in the WWE and you've been a champion, granted he was 24, the hardcore champion, which switched hands like every 15 minutes, but still He was, billed as a champion for a while. And that you yank that rug away from people, it can have a devastating effect. So I'm with you on that, is that people don't know what other people go through when they're in the spotlight and then they're not. It's very tough.
I'm gonna not. I won't name this person's name, but when I first bought my house, I was moving in, and my phone rang, and it was someone in the business, and he's actually doing well now. But he called and just was talking about how he thought about hanging himself, and he just picked up the phone and called me, and I thought, this is somebody that is on TV every week. Like, what makes you that depressed? And we talked about it. Like, are you okay? But I was at home, like literally like unpacking our stuff, and the phone rang, and he called, and he's a young guy, and he just, I guess, I don't know what happened, but he just was like, yeah, I just felt like hanging myself. So I'm glad you picked up the phone.
Wow, I'm glad you did too.
And I mean, you can't explain that to people that don't understand. I guess maybe we are just carnies after all. I mean, they don't. I guess they don't get it.
Or they don't want to. They like having that construct that they can, have no feelings, that they're cartoon characters on TV that they can hate, and that they don't have to think about what the impact is on those people's lives. And that is really, I'm with you that it can be a really difficult situation. And
I think you just said it best when you just said they don't want to. They don't want to.
Maybe they feel nobody does that to them in their lives, and so that's their deflection. And in a way, wrestling sort of sets that up. I was thinking about this to myself about like the old days of kayfabe and the idea that everybody had a different character, and all those years that we hated the Russians for being Nikita Koloff, who wasn't anywhere, and Ivan Koloff was from Canada. A lot of these guys that were Evan Ginsberg was very good friends with Nikolai Volkov, who wasn't Russian. And yet those people, for so many years were kept as, villains. We had Sergeant Slaughter's daughter on, and she, told us all about how many years, how intense he was about kayfabe and trying to keep his daughters away from being, subjected to the hatred of other kids when he would switch over to being, the Iraqi representative, because you said there was some repeat there.
Oh, well, I mean, the funny thing is, Nikita and I have talked plenty of times, and Nikita is one of the nicest people you'll ever deal with. But he said the funniest thing is when he went from heel to babyface, the night that he walked in the ring, and the sound the crowd made. Where you used to hate this guy, but now he's on our side. Right. I mean, that feeling, that moment is one of the greatest moments ever in wrestling. I mean, and I've talked to Scott about it a couple times, and he's like, you have no idea. It was the craziest moment. And he even said, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just went in there. Like I just went in. They just said, go in the ring and go do this, go save Dusty. And when he did it, he was like, all I heard was the crowd. That feeling just has to be like adrenaline. I mean,
and it goes the opposite way too with Mark Smith. Okay, he was a face that generated no heat whatsoever, no pop at all as a face. But we put the mask on him. I took him to the ring. Everybody hated my guts, and suddenly the whole crowd went crazy for him, and he got the reaction he wanted from the crowd that they wouldn't give him when he was a face. And so, that transformation can go the other way when you make the crowd hate you, but you are engineering it that way, and you want them to hate you. And then when they hate you the way that you want them to hate you, it's an amazing rush, just the same way that being of turning from heel to face when it works is so huge. So,
well, I think probably one of the most, I've said it, and I know that everybody has their opinions about Cornette and all that, but in my mind right now, MJF best heel in the business.
Yeah, he cuts an amazing promo. He cuts
just
absolutely amazing promo.
Every time that guy comes out on TV, I just think, my goodness, he's gonna do something. He's gonna do something.
Yeah, or say something that'll get the crowd going, and you can tell he doesn't rehearse every single word of what he's going to say.
No, that's the other thing. I think that it comes right off the top of his head. That's what he's convincing.
Yeah, he is, and he really gets you into that character the way Piper would do that. I think he's very Piper-esque in his way of reading a crowd and then saying, I know what to tell these guys to get them pissed off. And that takes some real psychology, but it's really great stuff. Speaking of psychology, I have one major question to ask you, and that is, because I asked it to Herb, and we got sidetracked, especially with Mike Lano, who can sidetrack, an Amtrak train onto, into his backyard if he felt like it. And that is, why do you think St. Louis wrestling, and as a territory, is different from other territories? What makes it so different? And I'm not just talking the wrestling that's in the ring, but the fans and the environment. What makes it different?
That it's very old school. That if you don't respect the business, you won't last. And the one thing that I loved about St. Louis wrestling was, and I hate to say it this way, if you go in the ring and you disrespect someone, you'll get your face rubbed in the mat.
And that comes from the Muchnick kind of era, doesn't it?
Yep.
That's what Herb was saying, is that there is that sort of adherence to if you can't handle yourself in the ring and you're not going to make it look good, then don't come in and wrestle in St. Louis. I
think the definition, I would put St. Louis wrestling into two words: Harley race. You didn't want to go in the ring, and I had the chance to be around Harley, and he was wonderful to me. But he was one of those people that you didn't want to go in the ring and mess up. Like, you didn't want to do something stupid in the ring, because he would rub your face in the mat. And there's a lot of Dick the Bruiser was like that. Like, just there were a lot of guys that had heavy hands, and I'm not saying that they were too snug or too stiff or anything like that. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things.
The respect for the business.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and that's why I think that St. Louis stands out even today as a unique territory, because of that adherence to respecting the business. And so, speaking of respecting the business, I want to give you a chance to talk about your new business, which is Pinned. I don't know anything about it, so please tell me and all the rest of our listeners what Pinned is all about.
Well, Pinned is what I feel like is I wouldn't say that there's never going to be a union in pro wrestling. I've heard that before. But Pinned, to me, is what it represents is wrestlers taking, how do I say this? Taking control of their own property, taking control of their own, just like we spoke about with Cody, owning your name, owning who you are. I won't say that I'm an agent or anything like that, but it's just I've tried to. Gosh, I don't know how to say this. Not that I would try to be a mentor to any of these kids or anything. It's just, don't be taken advantage of, is what I always say to them. Like, please do not be taken advantage of. So if you need someone to be an advocate for you, if you need someone to be there, I'm there. So that's Penn. That's
Not to
basically.
not to make you reveal any trade secrets, but how do you work? Do people hire you by the hour? Do they give you a percentage of a contract if they get it? How do they? How would a wrestler use your services?
Well, then we would just talk about it. Like I wouldn't want to. I mean, not to get into anything again, financial, but no. I mean, if someone needs my help and they call me and they would say, "Can you get me booked on a show, or can you do this?" Then we would just work it out. Like it's not a, it's not a. I'm not, somebody's pimp or anything. It's just, hey, do you need my help? I'm here. I know a lot of people, so if you need me, then let's work something out. So is that, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just, it's business.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just trying to get more of a parameter around exactly what your service is and how it works. And for people who are listening, if they're interested in using you for something like that, how they would, hire you, or what to expect once they did have you, working.
What I would say to anyone was, like just exactly what I've said to everyone is that, if you need my help, I'll be here. And that's it. I mean, there's not really, there's no really set parameters. It's not like, because you know what it's like. I know a lot of guys that have been on the road and like literally broke and dying, like, and I don't want to. I'm not asking people like that for money. What I'm saying is, if you need me, or if you want a break, or if you just want to get in contact with someone, I'm here. That's it. It's not there's really no business model to it. I hate to say it that way, but
Well,
there isn't.
I just wanted to know because I don't know anything about it, and you announced it, on your Facebook page, and I was very curious about it. So, I wanted to get whatever details I could get. Have you been able to work with anyone so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, good.
Yeah, I've
How'd
a
that
few
turn
clients.
out?
Oh, good. Very well. But
Okay.
we're just like I said, we're in the, I guess, the forming stages of it right now. But it's one of those things that, like, I just don't want to I don't want to ask anyone for money or anything like that. I'm just saying I can help you, and we'll get through this together. That's it.
Well, that is a very, altruistic thing. Then, if you're not working for Sportskeeda, you don't have the gorilla position, and this is not really a for-profit endeavor at the moment. What are you doing as an occupation, if I can ask?
Um,
Taking care of your cat and your kids.
Once again, we won't talk about anything financial, but
No,
no.
no, just curious what you're doing. What because I always thought of you as kind of a columnist and as a writer, but I don't know what you're doing now. While you get this other pin thing off the ground, what I can describe you as is a for your occupation. You're got to write something in the blurb about you, when I promote this. So what should I say that you are to the wrestling public?
An alien.
An alien. So I'll say Ryan Boman parentheses wrestling alien. That I'd hope for a little bit more of a descriptive term, but it's your call. You get to call it however you want. I mean, are you hoping to be then doing something full time in the wrestling business, or you want to do something different? What is your thoughts here of how this would progress?
We'll see.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Is it? Do you need a longer answer? I'm sorry. I'm probably not a very good interview guest, but I'm saying that.
Oh no,
I don't know.
you're phenomenal. You're great. I mean, I find St. Louis to be a fascinating territory, and I'm always interested to hear about the things that make a different territory different than what I have been so used to. I've never seen a wrestling match live outside of California. You know,
No,
I once went to Mexico,
sir,
tried to get to a lucha libre thing in Tijuana, and the cab driver took us for half an hour over absolutely everywhere in Tijuana except where the arena was. So that's about my only real experience with trying to see it outside of California. So I've never experienced wrestling outside, and I've always, you know, as a kid, I read so much about St. Louis and these other territories, and I've always been fascinated what made them so different. So I really appreciate you giving me some insight to that. But you know, when you announce
no,
Pin,
sir,
I never
sir,
heard anyone running something that was like that before. So it's such a unique concept. I wanted to really hammer it down, and you know, I hope as you develop it more in the future and it becomes something that is more, you know, an occupation for yourself, that you can come back to us and fill us in more on the things that Pinned has been doing, and maybe how you could offer your services to some of our listeners or people here in California. So I would never say that look, you have a long ways to go before you meet the Metal Maniac. You know, we've had, and at least your internet service is working fine. So you're not a bad interview, and it's been really.
Sir, no, I would say this, if I had to close with anything that I would say about the wrestling business, is it's been sort of like me, like being Neil Armstrong. Like, I landed on the moon, and I don't know how I got there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a lot of times. Most people's experiences with wrestling is they're not sure how they got in it, and 20 years later, you're still not sure how you got in it or why you stayed. But there it is, 20 years later, you know, you can look back on it. But so what is gonna? Do you have any plans in the near future to do anything big or work with any promotions out there, or you know, do any big wrestling related items?
Yeah, I'm gonna make a big comeback.
Good.
But it's a secret.
Well, when you're ready for
Don't
it
tell
not to be a
anybody.
secret, when you're ready for it not to be a secret anymore, come to us. I realize that. Yes.
Don't tell anybody.
But when you're ready for it not to be a secret anymore, I'd be so happy if you came to us and we could help you promote your next big thing, because you've always been a good friend of the show. Really appreciate everything that you've been able to give us and me back and forth as we've talked on Facebook and so forth. I really enjoy your friendship, and your questions of the day are always zany and fun. And, you know, you're a guy that thinks a lot about the business. And I'm always interested in talking to people who think a lot about the business, not just what's on the surface. That's one thing for Evan and myself when we created this program, is that we wanted to go deeper and not just talk about who pinned who, you know, what's the biggest feud, you know, how much we hate this or how much we love this. You know, I wanted to find out what makes people tick and why they're in the business and what they get out of being in the business. And you've been very illustrative of that tonight. So I really appreciate that from you. And I know it's late out there.
No. All I'm gonna say is this, and you and Evan understand this. Who wins and loses doesn't matter. It's who puts asses in the seats. And you and me, we put asses in the seats, bro.
I put a couple out there, and then most of them were there. And hey, look, I always understood as a manager, people are there to see the talent, and I'm talent enhancement. I was never there. People didn't pay tickets to see Buddy Sotelo show up. They were just happy when I was on the card because they could shout and say things to me that they couldn't say to any lawyer they knew in the business. So anyway, if you can let fans know how they can get a hold of you through social media and what to look for about Pinned and how they could get a hold of you if they have questions about Pinned, why don't you go ahead and tell our fans about it right now, because we're almost at the end of the show.
Okay, well, you can follow me on Facebook at Ryan K. Boman, Boman, or on Twitter at Ryan K. Boman. So either place, that's fine. And I really, really appreciate your time. I'm so glad that you had me on the show, and it's always good to talk to you. And I'm so sorry I missed you a couple weeks ago. We got a little spellbound.
Yeah, no, family emergencies are always something that we can work around, and I'm glad that we can make up for it. You've been a fascinating guest, and again, you've been great when we've had you on the show before. I look forward to having you on the show in the future, and looking forward to seeing what things you're going to post, about on Facebook, and seeing how Pinned progresses. I really am fascinated with that business, and keep me in the loop on that when you can.
I certainly will. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.
All right. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much. We'll see everybody next week. Good night, everyone.